Lily moved through the city's cold dawn like a shadow, her footsteps light against the cracked pavement, blending into the soft murmur of early morning life. The streets were already stirring, but the world still held a quiet hush, as if waiting for the sun to fully rise and chase away the lingering chill. Wrapped tightly in a threadbare coat several sizes too big, she pulled her hood low, shielding her face from the biting wind and the curious eyes that occasionally scanned the crowds. Her breath came out in white puffs, fading quickly into the gray air that smelled faintly of rain and exhaust. The city was a vast maze, filled with strangers who passed by without a glance. Some hurried to their destinations, others loitered in doorways or bus stops, each wrapped in their own stories. For Lily, this anonymity was both a shield and a curse. It meant she could move unseen, invisible to most, but it also meant she was alone, a solitary figure navigating a world that didn't quite know what to do with her. The loss that had uprooted her life was still fresh in her mind, a sharp ache beneath the numbness she wore like armor. She had been on the streets for months now, ever since the tragedy that had torn her family apart, a fire that swallowed her home, scattering her past like ashes in the wind. With no one left to turn to, Lily had learned quickly how to survive. Each day was a careful balance of seeking food, finding shelter, and staying safe from the dangers lurking in shadows. The city was both a protector and a threat, offering places to hide, but also exposing her to the cold reality of homelessness. This morning, like every morning, she started by checking her usual spots. The alley behind the bakery where the scent of fresh bread sometimes lingered long after closing, the park benches where early risers sometimes dropped scraps, and the steps of the library where the warmth of the building's interior spilled out briefly before the doors opened. Her hands, small and calloused, rummaged through discarded bags and forgotten corners, searching for anything that could ease the gnawing hunger in her belly. Despite the hardships, there was a quiet determination in Lily's movements. She had learned to move swiftly and silently, to avoid drawing attention to herself. Her eyes, a striking shade of green that contrasted with the grime on her face, held a cautious sharpness, always assessing, always calculating the safest path forward. She rarely spoke to anyone, not because she was cold or unkind, but because trust was a luxury she could not afford. Years of pain and loss had taught her that opening up often led to more hurt. Yet beneath that guarded exterior, there was a part of Lily that still clung to hope. It was a fragile spark, flickering in the depths of her heart, reminding her that life could be more than this endless struggle. She dreamed of warmth that wasn't just physical, of a place where she could rest without fear, and of days filled with laughter instead of silence. These thoughts stayed with her as she navigated the city's labyrinth, a silent promise to herself that she would find a way out of the darkness. The streets were beginning to pulse with life now. The chatter of early commuters, the clatter of street vendors setting up their stalls, the distant hum of traffic growing louder with each passing minute. Lily kept to the edges, moving along the narrow alleys and less crowded pathways, avoiding the bright lights and curious eyes of those who belonged to a world that felt so far removed from hers. She had learned to read the city's rhythms, to find the places where she could rest briefly without drawing notice. A narrow doorway sheltered her for a moment from the chill as she settled down, wrapping her thin blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her thoughts drifted to the small things that had become important, finding a warm cup of soup from a kind vendor, the occasional smile from a passerby who saw her as human and not a problem to be ignored. These moments, fleeting as they were, became threads she clung to, weaving a fragile tapestry of hope amid the harshness. Lily's mind wandered to the family she had lost, their faces, the warmth of their voices, the safety that once surrounded her. The memory was both a comfort and a wound, a reminder of what had been and what could never be again. She had no home now, no one to turn to, and the city's vastness often made her feel small and insignificant. But still, she moved forward, step by step, her silent determination guiding her through the uncertainty. The sky began to lighten, the first pale hues of morning stretching across the horizon, casting long shadows between the buildings. The city was waking up, and with it came the challenges of the day, finding food before the bins were emptied, avoiding confrontations with those who saw her as nothing more than a nuisance, and seeking a place to rest as night crept closer again. For Lily, each day was a test of endurance, a delicate dance of survival played out on the city's unforgiving stage. She adjusted the strap of her worn backpack, feeling the weight of a few treasured belongings inside: an old photograph, a small notebook with scribbled thoughts and sketches, and a crumpled letter she carried like a talisman. These items were all that connected her to a world beyond the streets, reminders of a past life and the possibility of a future she dared to imagine. As she rose from her makeshift shelter, ready to face the day ahead, Lily's gaze flickered to the faces of strangers passing by. Some hurried past, eyes downcast, while others glanced over with a fleeting mix of curiosity and indifference. She had learned not to expect kindness, but when it came, even in small doses, it warmed her in ways food and shelter could not. With a silent breath, she stepped into the flow of the awakening city, blending once more into the crowd. The streets were harsh and unyielding, but Lily's spirit remained unbroken. Each step she took was a quiet defiance, a promise to herself that she would survive, that she would endure. In the vast expanse of the city, amid the noise and shadows, she was a solitary figure moving forward, small, unseen, but fiercely determined to face whatever came next. Lily's days unfolded much like the city itself, fast-moving, fragmented, and filled with moments that rarely lasted long enough to be claimed. Her interactions with others were brief, cautious exchanges shaped by a lifetime of guardedness. She had learned early on that trust was a fragile thing, easily broken and seldom repaired. So when someone approached her, she met them with a quiet wariness, eyes scanning for signs of kindness or danger beneath the surface. Most often, she kept her distance, slipping through crowds like a ghost, invisible yet ever watchful. Despite this protective shell, there were glimpses of something softer beneath, the kindness that had not been extinguished by hardship but carefully preserved. Lily shared what little she had with those she encountered on the street: a crust of bread, a worn blanket, or simply a smile. These small acts were her way of holding onto humanity in a world that often seemed indifferent. She understood the silent language of suffering and survival, and in these brief moments of connection, she found a fragile community among the city's forgotten. On chilly afternoons, she would find a quiet corner where some of the other homeless gathered, a huddled group of older men, a mother with her young child, a few others who, like her, carried the weight of loss in their eyes. They exchanged stories in hushed tones, shared scraps of food, and offered what comfort they could. Lily rarely spoke much, but she listened, offering a quiet presence that was a balm in itself. Her compassion was evident in the way she noticed when someone shivered or looked hungry, slipping a piece of her meager meal into their hand without drawing attention. This secret kindness was a thread that connected her to a world beyond mere survival. It was a quiet rebellion against the loneliness that threatened to consume her. Though she rarely voiced her dreams, they lived inside her, a hope for a better life, a future where she could laugh without fear, where warmth did not come from layers of ragged clothes, but from the embrace of safety and belonging. These thoughts sustained her through the darkest hours, a beacon guiding her steps through the city's maze. Lily's guarded nature was a shield crafted from years of pain and loss. She had learned to read people quickly, to sense when a smile masked danger or when a kind word was laced with distrust. This vigilance often left her isolated, but it was necessary for survival. Her eyes, sharp and alert, missed little: the subtle shifts in tone, the wary glances, the unspoken rules of the streets. She had become adept at moving through the world without being seen, a skill that kept her safe but also deepened her solitude. Yet, even in her silence, Lily's heart pulsed with a quiet empathy. She noticed the small suffering around her: the old man who shivered on the park bench, the woman who hugged her child tightly against the cold, the young boy who darted through alleys with a look of fear in his eyes. Each of these lives mirrored her own in some way, and she felt a kinship that transcended words. Her kindness was not loud or grand, but it was real and persistent, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In the rare moments when she allowed herself to hope, Lily imagined a life beyond the streets, a life where she could wake up in a warm bed, attend school, and build friendships without the weight of survival pressing down on her. These dreams were fragile, easily shattered by the harsh reality of her existence, but they remained a vital part of her inner world. They fueled her determination to endure, to keep moving forward even when the city seemed cold and unyielding. Lily's interactions with strangers were often fleeting, but occasionally, a brief connection would spark. A kind word from a shopkeeper, a gentle nod from a passerby, a shared moment of understanding with another soul lost in the city's vastness. These moments, though small, were precious. They reminded her that beneath the surface of the bustling streets, there was still kindness to be found, even if it was hidden beneath layers of indifference and fear. Her days were a delicate balance of caution and compassion. She avoided confrontations and sought out places where she could rest without drawing attention. Yet, she never hesitated to offer help when she saw someone in need, even if it meant sharing the little she had. This quiet generosity was a lifeline, both for those she aided and for herself. It was a way of affirming her own humanity in a world that often tried to erase it. Lily's heart carried the weight of loss, but it also held a stubborn spark of hope. She dreamed not just of survival, but of a future where she could thrive, a future where kindness was not a rare gift, but a constant presence. These dreams were her anchor, steadying her through the uncertainty and fear that shadowed each day. They gave her the strength to face the city's challenges with a quiet courage that few could see. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the alleyways, Lily found herself drawn to the small community she had come to know. Here, in the company of others who understood the harsh realities of life on the streets, she felt a fleeting sense of belonging. Though words were few and smiles guarded, there was an unspoken bond that held them together, a shared story of loss, resilience, and the search for hope. In these moments, Lily's compassion shone brightest. She would offer a comforting touch, a warm blanket, or simply the gift of her presence to those who needed it most. Her kindness was a quiet force, a light that flickered in the darkness, refusing to be extinguished. It was a testament to the strength that lies within even the most vulnerable, a reminder that humanity endures even in the harshest of places. Despite the challenges that surrounded her, Lily's spirit remained unbroken. She moved through the city not as a victim, but as a survivor, a young girl with a heart full of kindness and a soul that dared to hope. Her interactions, though brief and guarded, were threads in the tapestry of her resilience, weaving a story of quiet strength and enduring compassion. Though the future remained uncertain, Lily held on to her secret hope, a hope that one day she would find a place where she truly belonged. Until then, she would continue to navigate the city's streets with silent determination, offering what little she had to others and carrying her dreams quietly within. In a world that often seemed harsh and unforgiving, Lily's kindness was a beacon, a reminder that even in the darkest places, the human heart can still shine. The nights were the hardest. When the city's bustle faded into silence, and the streetlights cast long, lonely shadows, Lily felt the cold seep deeper, not just into her bones, but into the hollow places within her heart. The chill wasn't just from the biting air that swept through the alleys and beneath the cracked windows of abandoned buildings. It was a coldness born from isolation and the relentless uncertainty that shadowed each moment. She huddled beneath her thin blanket on the hard pavement, the rough concrete pressing against her skin, a harsh reminder that comfort was a fleeting luxury. Fatigue clung to her like a second skin, the exhaustion of days spent scavenging, hiding, and moving on without a moment's rest. Hunger gnawed at her relentlessly, a dull ache that never fully left her. Sometimes, her stomach growled so loudly it drowned out the distant sounds of the city, a cruel reminder that food was never guaranteed. Yet, even in the face of such physical hardship, Lily's spirit refused to break. She had learned to endure, to push through the weariness, clinging to the smallest fragments of hope that kept her going. The loneliness was a weight as heavy as the night's cold. It wrapped around her with an almost suffocating grip, reminding her how truly alone she was. Years of abandonment had taught her to build walls around her heart, thick, impenetrable barriers designed to keep pain at bay. She didn't let herself cry anymore. Tears were a luxury she couldn't afford. Instead, She stored the grief in silent corners of her mind, hidden from the world and even from herself. But beneath those walls, beneath the hardened exterior, there was a yearning, a desperate longing for connection, for someone to see her not as a shadow or a problem, but as a person. Her emotional defenses were both a shield and a prison. They kept her safe from the betrayal she had known, but also isolated her from the warmth she craved. Every smile she withheld, every word unspoken, was a brick in the fortress she'd built around herself. She carried the weight of her past like a scarred armor, wary of letting anyone inside. Yet sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, when the city's sounds faded to a distant hum, the walls would tremble. The loneliness would press in so sharply that her heart ached for even the smallest sign of kindness. Despite her invisible presence in the city's relentless flow, Lily's inner world was vivid and alive. While others might have seen only a small, ragged figure blending into the background, inside her mind unfolded a landscape rich with dreams and memories. She replayed moments of warmth from her childhood, the laughter of her family, the scent of home, the feeling of safety. These memories were like fragile flowers growing in barren soil, delicate but precious. They nourished her spirit, reminding her that life had once held joy and could again. Her imagination was a refuge, a place where she could escape the harshness of reality. She pictured scenes of a future where she was no longer invisible, where she belonged somewhere, where she was loved and cared for. She dreamed of classrooms filled with light, of books that opened doors to new worlds, and of friendships that didn't come with fear or suspicion. These visions were a secret treasure, locked away in the depths of her mind, fueling her resolve to keep moving forward. By day, Lily was careful to remain unseen, navigating the city's crowded streets with a practiced grace that belied her youth. She moved quickly, avoiding eye contact and staying to the edges, where the shadows offered refuge. Her sharp green eyes scanned constantly for threats, harsh words, aggressive gestures, or the cold indifference that could turn dangerous. She had learned to sense danger before it arrived, a survival instinct honed by months of living on the margins. Her body bore the marks of her struggle, scrapes and bruises hidden beneath layers of worn clothing, a permanent stiffness from sleeping in uncomfortable places. Yet she moved with a quiet resilience, each step measured and deliberate. She had become adept at finding shelter in unexpected places, a boarded-up doorway, a forgotten stairwell, or beneath a rusted fire escape. These places were far from comfortable, but they offered a fleeting sense of safety from the city's harsher elements. In moments of vulnerability, Lily sometimes allowed herself a brief glance at the world beyond her reach. She watched families pass by, wrapped in warmth and laughter, and felt a pang of longing so sharp it took her breath away. She envied their security, their freedom from fear, and the simple joy of belonging. But she quickly pushed those feelings aside, knowing that dwelling on what she lacked could be dangerous. Instead, she focused on the small victories, the scraps of food she managed to find, the kind words from a stranger, the brief moments of rest she carved out for herself. The emotional toll of her existence was heavy. The constant vigilance, the need to suppress her pain, and the loneliness formed a relentless cycle that tested her spirit daily. Yet, within this struggle, Lily's resilience shone through. She was not merely surviving. She was enduring with a quiet strength that few could see. Her protective walls, while isolating, also shielded the fragile hope that flickered inside her. A hope that one day, she would find a place where she could lower her guard and heal. That hope was a lifeline, a beacon in the darkness that guided her through the city's unforgiving landscape. It was the reason she pushed through the cold nights, the hunger, and the fear. It was the reason she still offered kindness to others despite her own suffering. It was the reason she held on to the belief that the world could be different, that her story was not yet finished. As the city's lights flickered on with the coming dusk, Lily settled into another makeshift shelter, pulling her threadbare blanket tighter around her. The night stretched ahead, long and uncertain, but within her heart, a quiet determination burned. She was a small, solitary figure in a vast urban expanse, but her spirit was unyielding. Beneath the weight of hardship and loneliness, she carried a vivid inner world filled with dreams, memories, and the unspoken promise of a better tomorrow. The rain had started softly, a gentle patter against the cracked pavement that soon grew into a steady pour, drumming a relentless rhythm on the city's rooftops and gutters. Lily pulled her threadbare coat tighter around her, the dampness seeping through the thin fabric and chilling her to the bone. She moved quickly through the narrow alleyways, seeking shelter beneath a sagging fire escape, the cold metal slick with rain. The streets were emptying as most hurried indoors, leaving the city's shadows to grow longer and darker. As she waited for the rain to ease, a faint sound caught her attention, a soft groan, almost swallowed by the storm's noise. Curiosity and caution warred within her, but the instinct to help was stronger. She followed the sound, careful not to slip on the wet cobblestones, until she came upon a figure slumped against the damp brick wall of a narrow alley. The woman was collapsed, her clothes soaked and torn, her face pale and streaked with dirt and rain. She breathed shallowly, eyes fluttering weakly, and her hands trembled as she clutched her side. Lily's heart pounded, a surge of empathy breaking through the usual guardedness that kept her distant from others. Despite her own fragile state, she moved closer, kneeling beside the injured woman. Her hands, small and trembling, fumbled with the torn fabric of the woman's coat, trying to assess the wounds hidden beneath. She found a deep gash on the woman's side, bleeding slowly but steadily. Panic fluttered in Lily's chest. She had no medical training, no supplies, no way to call for help, but something inside her refused to turn away. With careful urgency, Lily tore a strip from her own shirt, folding it as best she could into a makeshift bandage. She pressed it gently against the wound, applying what little pressure she could manage, praying silently that it would hold. The woman's eyes met hers, dim but grateful, and for a moment, the rain seemed to soften around them, the city's harshness receding into the background. Lily felt a strange, fierce connection, a fragile thread linking two souls lost in the vastness of the world. She searched the woman's pockets, finding a small bottle of water and a crumpled tissue, which she used to clean the wound as best she could. Her fingers were cold and clumsy, but her touch was gentle, careful not to cause more pain. The injured woman whispered something unintelligible, her voice weak and raspy, and Lily leaned in closer, straining to listen. Though the words were unclear, the tone was one of gratitude and trust, a silent plea for help that Lily vowed to answer. Time seemed to blur as the rain continued to fall, soaking through their clothes and pooling beneath them. Lily's own exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, but she pushed it aside, driven by a newfound purpose. She wrapped her arms around the woman, shielding her from the worst of the storm, whispering comforting words that felt strange but necessary. In that moment, Lily was no longer a solitary figure struggling to survive. She was a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the midst of darkness. The city, indifferent and vast, carried on around them, but within the narrow alley, a quiet transformation was unfolding. Lily's act of kindness, born from compassion rather than obligation, ignited a spark within her, a reminder that even in the harshest of circumstances, connection and care could still exist. She felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the weather, a fragile but real sense of being needed. As the rain began to taper, Lily gathered what strength she had left and helped the woman to her feet. Supporting her carefully, she guided her away from the alley and toward the faint glow of a nearby street lamp. The injured woman leaned heavily on Lily, their steps slow and unsteady but determined. With each movement, Lily's confidence grew, bolstered by the knowledge that her small actions were making a difference. Though she knew the road ahead would be difficult, and that her own survival remained uncertain, Lily's heart carried a quiet light. Helping the wounded woman had stirred something deep inside, a sense of purpose that transcended her own struggles. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly seen, not as an invisible shadow, but as a person capable of kindness and strength. The encounter lingered in her mind, a seed planted in the fertile soil of hope. It whispered promises of change, of a future where her actions could ripple outward, touching lives beyond her own. In the midst of a city that often seemed cold and uncaring, Lily's small act of compassion stood as a testament to the enduring power of empathy. As they moved forward together, two figures bound by circumstance and kindness, the rain softened to a gentle drizzle, and the city's relentless pace continued around them. But within Lily's heart, a quiet revolution had begun, a spark of hope that would guide her through the shadows and toward whatever light awaited beyond the storm. The days following that rainy evening unfolded with a quiet intensity that Lily hadn't anticipated. The memory of the wounded woman lingered in her thoughts like a persistent echo, stirring something deep within her, a sense of purpose that had long been dormant beneath the weight of survival. She found herself replaying the moments when she had tended to the woman's wounds, the fragile trust reflected in her eyes, and the unexpected warmth that had blossomed between them amid the city's cold indifference. This simple act of kindness had ignited a spark inside Lily, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time, the feeling of being truly needed. It was as if, for the first time since the tragedy that had uprooted her life, she had a reason to hope, a reason to believe that her existence mattered beyond mere survival. That night, when she wrapped her arms around the injured woman, shielding her from the storm, Lily had stepped beyond the boundaries of her own pain and loneliness, discovering a connection that transcended their circumstances. In the quiet moments alone, Lily's curiosity grew. Who was this woman who had collapsed in the alley, vulnerable and broken? What had brought her to such a desperate state? And what did her life hold beyond the narrow shadows of that rain-soaked street? These questions hovered in Lily's mind, weaving through her thoughts like threads seeking to be unraveled. The encounter had stirred more than compassion. It had awakened a yearning to understand, to reach beyond the isolation that had defined her existence. Though the city moved on, indifferent to the small dramas playing out within its streets, Lily felt a subtle shift within herself. Her actions, small as they were, had created ripples that seemed to extend beyond the immediate moment, touching something fragile and vital inside her. She began to see that kindness, no matter how modest, held a transformative power. It was a force that could break through the barriers built by fear and pain, bridging the gaps between strangers and weaving threads of hope into the fabric of their lives. This realization brought with it a renewed sense of agency. Lily no longer felt like a passive survivor, merely enduring the harshness of the world around her. Instead, she saw herself as an active participant, capable of making choices that could shape not only her own future, but also the futures of those she encountered. Her compassion was no longer a quiet, hidden flame, but a growing light, illuminating paths that had once seemed impossible to navigate. In the days that followed, Lily found herself more attuned to the small opportunities to offer kindness. She shared her meager food with others who looked hungry, lent a comforting hand to those trembling in the cold, and offered a listening ear to whispered stories of hardship and hope. Each act was a reaffirmation of her own humanity, a declaration that she would not be defined solely by her suffering, but by the compassion she carried within. The encounter with the wounded woman also sparked a deeper reflection on Lily's own life and dreams. The fragile hope she had nurtured in the quiet corners of her mind began to take clearer shape. She imagined a future where she could reclaim her voice, where laughter replaced silence, and where the shadows that had haunted her could be replaced by light. This vision was not yet tangible, but it shone brightly enough to guide her through the days of uncertainty. Lily's heart held on to the belief that her small actions, no matter how insignificant they might seem, could create ripples of goodness in a world that often felt cold and uncaring. She understood that change would not come easily or quickly, but the possibility itself was enough to strengthen her resolve. In the midst of the city's relentless pace, she found solace in the knowledge that kindness was a thread that connected her to others and to a future filled with potential. This newfound purpose also brought with it a quiet courage. Lily began to face each day with a subtle shift in her demeanor, her steps more assured, her gaze less guarded. The weight of loneliness and fear did not vanish, but it was tempered by the knowledge that she was not alone, that her actions could touch lives in ways she had never imagined. The city's harshness was still present, but within her, a resilient spirit was taking root, nourished by the simple truth that compassion could heal even the deepest wounds. In moments of solitude, Lily would often replay the scene of that rainy night. The way the woman's eyes had met hers, the whispered words of gratitude, and the fragile bond that had formed between them. This memory was a beacon, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was light to be found, and that kindness could be a lifeline connecting one lost soul to another. It was a testament to the power of empathy, a force that transcended circumstance and brought meaning to the smallest of gestures. As Lily continued to navigate the complexities of her daily life, the encounter with the wounded woman remained a touchstone, grounding her in a world that often threatened to overwhelm. It was a catalyst for growth, a moment that had shifted the trajectory of her journey from mere survival to a search for meaning and connection. The city, vast and indifferent, had offered her a chance to be seen, to be valued, and to believe once more in the transformative power of kindness. In this fragile space between past and future, Lily's spirit began to bloom. The small act of helping a stranger had opened a door within her, revealing the possibility of change and the promise of a better life. It was a beginning, a quiet revolution of the heart that whispered of hope and the enduring strength of the human soul. Through this connection, Lily found not only a renewed sense of purpose, but also the courage to dream beyond the confines of her present, embracing the unknown with tentative but growing faith. The woman Lily had helped was not just anyone lost to the city's shadows. Her name was Evelyn, a billionaire whose life was worlds away from the cold alley where Lily had found her. The revelation came quietly, through whispered conversations and the cautious introductions of Evelyn's trusted aides. The contrast between their lives was staggering. Evelyn's world was one of luxury and influence, filled with high-rise penthouses and boardrooms, while Lily's was rooted in the unforgiving streets. Yet, amid these stark differences, a bond had formed, an unlikely connection forged in vulnerability and kindness. Evelyn's presence soon brought with it unforeseen dangers. The injury that had left her vulnerable was not an accident, but the result of threats from those who sought to exploit her wealth and power. Shadowy figures lurked at the edges of her world, their intentions dark and relentless. As news of Evelyn's disappearance and subsequent rescue spread, the scrutiny intensified, casting a spotlight on both women. Suddenly, Lily found herself caught in a web of intrigue and risk, her safety threatened simply by association. Aware of the perils surrounding Evelyn, her inner circle moved swiftly to protect both her and Lily. Private security teams shadowed their every move, and trusted allies worked tirelessly behind the scenes to shield them from harm. For Lily, this sudden intrusion into a life so different from her own was overwhelming. Yet the care and protection offered were unlike anything she had ever known. It was a glimpse into a world where safety was a given, not a constant battle, and where resources could be marshaled to guard against danger. Despite the stark differences in their backgrounds, Evelyn became a steadfast protector to Lily. She recognized the resilience and kindness that had shone through in the alley and was determined to ensure that Lily would not face the threats alone. Evelyn's support was not just physical but emotional, a bridge between two lives that seemed worlds apart but were united by shared compassion. She introduced Lily to a network of trusted friends and resources, offering the promise of safety and the possibility of a new beginning. For Lily, this protection was both a relief and a challenge. The constant presence of security and the sudden shift in her circumstances unsettled her, stirring old fears and distrust. But Evelyn's gentle patience and unwavering support helped to ease these anxieties. Slowly, Lily began to trust that she could find safety, not just from external threats, but within the walls of a world that had once seemed inaccessible. The city's shadows still loomed, but now there were lights casting warmth and protection. Evelyn's determination extended beyond mere protection. She sought to empower Lily, providing access to healthcare, counseling, and education, tools that could help her heal from past traumas and build a future free from fear. This holistic approach was new to Lily, who had long been accustomed to surviving day by day without hope for tomorrow. Through Evelyn's guidance, she began to see that her past did not have to define her future, and that healing was a journey she did not have to undertake alone. The threat that had followed Evelyn did not disappear overnight. Those who wished her harm were cunning and persistent, forcing constant vigilance among her protectors. Yet, within this tension, Lily found a growing sense of security. The knowledge that she was guarded by people who cared, who saw her not as a liability, but as someone worth protecting, nurtured a fragile confidence. It was a new experience, feeling safe in a world that had long been unsafe. Evelyn and Lily's relationship deepened as they navigated these challenges together. Their worlds, though vastly different, intertwined through shared moments of vulnerability and strength. Evelyn admired Lily's resilience and compassion, while Lily found in Evelyn a mentor and ally, a guide through the complexities of a life she was just beginning to understand. This bond became a source of comfort and growth, a testament to the unpredictable ways in which connection can transform lives. The city continued its relentless pace around them, indifferent to the quiet revolution unfolding between the two women. Yet within the protective cocoon that Evelyn's support provided, Lily's world began to expand. The fears that had once dominated her life slowly gave way to curiosity and hope. She started to envision a future where safety was not a constant concern, where she could explore opportunities without fear, and where her past pain could be met with healing and understanding. Though the threats from Evelyn's enemies remained a shadow at the edges of their lives, the immediate danger was mitigated by the careful measures put in place. This breathing space allowed Lily to focus on herself, to begin the delicate process of rebuilding trust, learning to accept care, and opening her heart to new possibilities. The scars of her past were still present, but with Evelyn's protection, they no longer felt like chains holding her captive. In time, Lily began to step beyond the confines of fear and uncertainty. She engaged with the support networks Evelyn introduced her to, attended therapy sessions, and explored educational opportunities that had once seemed out of reach. Each step was tentative but significant, a movement toward healing and growth. The protective measures surrounding her were not just shields against external threats, but scaffolds supporting her journey towards self-discovery and empowerment. Through it all, Evelyn remained a constant presence, an anchor in a sea of change. Her commitment to Lily's well-being was unwavering, rooted in a deep respect for the girl's strength and potential. Together, they faced the challenges imposed by those who sought to exploit Evelyn's power, finding strength in their shared resolve. This alliance, born from a chance encounter in a rain-soaked alley, blossomed into a partnership that defied the barriers of class and circumstance. For Lily, the transition was profound. From the margins of the city's harsh streets to the protective embrace of Evelyn's world, she found a new sense of belonging. The danger that had once seemed insurmountable was tempered by the knowledge that she was not alone. The threats that had loomed large were now met with a network of care and vigilance, offering a foundation on which she could begin to build a different life. As the days passed, Lily's confidence grew, nourished by the safety and support that Evelyn provided. The protective measures were more than just security protocols. They were symbols of a new chapter, one where Lily could imagine a future free from fear. This transformation was gradual, marked by small victories and moments of courage. Yet each step forward was a testament to the power of kindness and protection to reshape a life once defined by hardship. In the quiet spaces between danger and safety, Lily discovered the possibility of healing. Evelyn's decision to stand by her side, to shield her from harm and guide her toward opportunity, was a lifeline, one that tethered Lily to hope and a future not yet written. Together, they navigated the complexities of a world fraught with peril, finding strength in their unlikely bond and the promise of change it held. Under Evelyn's steady care, Lily began to unwrap the tightly bound layers of her past, exposing wounds long hidden beneath protective walls. The transition from the harsh streets to the sheltered spaces Evelyn provided was jarring, yet within that contrast lay the seeds of healing. Therapy sessions became a refuge, a place where Lily could speak in whispers about the pain she had carried alone for so long. Each conversation chipped away at the silence that had once enveloped her, revealing the depth of her resilience and the possibility of renewal. Evelyn's support extended beyond the physical realm. It was a nurturing presence that encouraged Lily to confront the shadows of her trauma without fear. The trust between them deepened with every shared moment. Quiet afternoons filled with gentle conversation, evenings spent in comfortable silence, and the gradual unveiling of hopes that had been buried beneath years of hardship. Evelyn listened not as a benefactor but as a friend, honoring Lily's strength while offering a steady hand through uncertain terrain. In these moments, Lily discovered facets of herself long obscured by survival's demands, a capacity for joy, a curiosity for learning, and a courage that surprised even her. The walls she had erected to guard against betrayal began to soften, allowing fragments of vulnerability to surface. It was a delicate dance between opening and protecting, but with Evelyn's unwavering presence, Lily found the courage to lean into the discomfort of growth. Education became a beacon on this path. For the first time, Lily stepped into classrooms not as an outsider, but as a student with dreams and potential. The world of books, teachers, and classmates was daunting, but also exhilarating, a place where her mind could roam freely beyond the confines of street life. With Evelyn's encouragement, she embraced this new chapter, her thirst for knowledge fueling a transformation that extended far beyond academics. The friendship between Evelyn and Lily was a bridge spanning two vastly different worlds. Evelyn shared stories of her own struggles beneath the veneer of wealth and power, moments of doubt and fear that echoed Lily's experiences in unexpected ways. This vulnerability forged a connection that transcended their disparate backgrounds, weaving a tapestry of mutual respect and empathy. Together, they navigated the complexities of healing and hope, each learning from the other's strength. Lily's confidence grew steadily, nourished by the affirmation and care that surrounded her. Simple acts, raising her hand in class, speaking her thoughts aloud, trusting others, became milestones marking her journey from isolation to connection. The wounds of abandonment and loss did not vanish overnight, but they were met with compassion rather than silence, allowing healing to take root. In this safe space, Lily began to envision a future where fear no longer dictated her choices. The city outside remained indifferent to their quiet revolution, but within the walls of Evelyn's home and the spaces they shared, a profound transformation was unfolding. Lily's laughter, once rare and tentative, began to surface more frequently, a sound that filled rooms with light. Her eyes, once guarded and wary, softened with trust and hope. The journey was far from linear, marked by setbacks and breakthroughs, but each step forward was a testament to the power of empathy and unwavering support. Therapy sessions unveiled layers of trauma that had shaped Lily's worldview: abandonment, fear, and the crushing weight of loss. Yet, through this process, she began to reclaim her narrative, shifting from victimhood to survivor. The tools she acquired, coping strategies, self-compassion, and resilience, became anchors in the turbulent sea of healing. Evelyn's presence during these moments was a steadying force, a reminder that Lily was not alone in confronting her past. As their bond deepened, Lily found herself sharing dreams she had long kept hidden, a desire to become an advocate for others who, like her, had been cast aside by society. The idea of using her voice to raise awareness about homelessness and trauma was both daunting and empowering. Evelyn listened with pride, offering guidance and encouragement that fueled Lily's burgeoning sense of purpose. Together, they envisioned ways to transform pain into advocacy, turning personal struggle into collective strength. Outside the safety of Evelyn's world, challenges persisted. The scars of street life, both physical and emotional, were not easily erased. Encounters with skepticism and prejudice reminded Lily of the barriers she still faced. Yet, bolstered by her healing and the support network Evelyn had helped build, she approached these obstacles with newfound resilience. Each challenge was met not with retreat, but with determination, a declaration that her past would not define her future. Lily's journey was a delicate balance between honoring her past and embracing possibility. The memories of loss and hardship remained, but they were no longer shackles binding her to despair. Instead, they became chapters in a story of survival and growth, pages written with courage and hope. Evelyn's mentorship transformed from a protective role into a partnership, a shared commitment to fostering change and nurturing potential. In the quiet moments between therapy and school, between advocacy and friendship, Lily's transformation blossomed. She learned to trust her instincts, to speak her truth, and to find strength in vulnerability. The protective walls she had built began to crumble, replaced by connections that affirmed her worth and humanity. Through this process, she discovered that healing was not a destination but a journey, one marked by resilience, compassion, and the unyielding belief in the possibility of change. Together, Evelyn and Lily forged a path forward, navigating the complexities of healing with grace and determination. Their story became one of hope, a testament to the transformative power of kindness, trust, and unwavering support. In the face of trauma and uncertainty, Lily's spirit had not only survived but flourished, illuminating the way for others who walked similar paths. The city around them continued its relentless pace, but within their shared world, a quiet revolution of the heart was unfolding, promising a future shaped by strength, empathy, and the enduring light of healing. News of Lily's transformation, intertwined with Evelyn's story of survival and resilience, began to ripple through the city's social circles and media outlets. What started as a quiet journey shared within intimate walls soon captured public attention, a narrative that resonated deeply with many. Headlines spoke of the unlikely bond between a homeless girl and a billionaire, highlighting the power of kindness and the possibility of change. The story was both inspiring and controversial, stirring a spectrum of reactions from admiration to skepticism. The media's spotlight brought Lily into a world she had scarcely imagined, a world of interviews, public appearances, and social gatherings. Cameras and microphones, once symbols of a distant and alien life, now followed her steps. For a girl who had learned to move unnoticed through crowded streets, this sudden visibility was both exhilarating and daunting. She navigated this new terrain with a cautious grace, guided by Evelyn's steady presence and the support of a dedicated team who helped her prepare for the scrutiny. Public reaction was a complex tapestry. Many were moved by Lily's resilience and the generosity that had transformed her life. Supporters saw her as a beacon of hope, a living testament to the impact of compassion and opportunity. Charitable organizations and advocacy groups reached out, eager to collaborate and amplify the message of change. Lily's story became a catalyst, igniting conversations about homelessness, poverty, and the systemic challenges faced by vulnerable youth. Yet, skepticism and criticism also surfaced. Some questioned the authenticity of Lily's narrative, suspecting it to be a carefully crafted media spectacle. Others doubted that such dramatic transformations were possible or sustainable, viewing her story as an exception rather than a rule. These voices, though quieter, added a layer of complexity to Lily's public journey, challenging her to remain grounded amid the swirl of opinions and expectations. Despite the mixed reactions, Lily embraced her role with a quiet determination. She understood that her story was not just about her own survival, but about shining a light on the struggles faced by countless others. With Evelyn's mentorship, she learned to articulate her experiences with honesty and humility, transforming personal pain into a powerful tool for advocacy. Each public appearance was an opportunity to raise awareness, to challenge stereotypes, and to inspire change. Together, Lily and Evelyn embarked on a series of initiatives aimed at addressing the root causes of homelessness and poverty. They partnered with organizations that provided shelter, education, and mental health services, channeling resources and attention toward those most in need. Lily's unique perspective as someone who had lived through the hardships she spoke about lent authenticity and urgency to their efforts, making their advocacy both compelling and impactful. The media coverage also opened doors for Lily to engage with policymakers and community leaders. She spoke at conferences and forums, sharing her story to influence decisions and promote compassionate policies. Her voice, once silenced by fear and loneliness, now carried weight and resonance. This newfound platform was both empowering and humbling, a responsibility she approached with sincerity and resolve. Amid the public attention, Lily remained mindful of her own healing journey. The demands of advocacy and visibility were balanced with moments of reflection and self-care, supported by the network of friends, mentors, and professionals who surrounded her. Evelyn's guidance was a constant anchor, helping Lily navigate the complexities of her evolving identity, both as a survivor and as a symbol of hope. The partnership between Lily and Evelyn became a powerful force for change, demonstrating the transformative potential of empathy and support. Their story challenged societal perceptions, breaking down barriers and fostering dialogue across diverse communities. Through their advocacy, they highlighted the importance of addressing not only immediate needs, but also systemic issues that perpetuate cycles of poverty and exclusion. Lily's journey into public recognition was not without its challenges. The scrutiny and expectations sometimes weighed heavily, and moments of doubt crept in. Yet, she drew strength from the knowledge that her story had meaning beyond herself, that by sharing her experiences, she was giving voice to those who remained unseen. This purpose fueled her resilience, enabling her to face criticism with grace and to continue advocating for change with passion. As their work gained momentum, Lily and Evelyn envisioned expanding their reach, creating programs and initiatives that empowered youth facing homelessness. They sought to build bridges between communities, fostering understanding and collaboration. Their vision was one of inclusion and opportunity, a future where kindness and support were not exceptions, but norms. In the midst of this whirlwind, Lily's personal growth remained at the heart of her journey. She learned to embrace her role as both an advocate and a young woman finding her place in the world. The media spotlight, while intense, was a platform from which she could amplify messages of hope and resilience. Each interview, each speech, was a step toward transforming not only her own life, but the lives of many others. The city, vast and complex, continued its relentless rhythm, but within the currents of public discourse, Lily's story became a beacon, a narrative of transformation and possibility that challenged indifference and sparked compassion. Her journey illuminated the profound impact of empathy, connection, and opportunity, reminding all who heard it that every life holds the potential for change. Through the highs and lows of public recognition, Lily remained grounded by the relationships and values that had guided her from the beginning. With Evelyn by her side, she embraced the challenges and triumphs of advocacy, committed to using her voice to create a more just and compassionate world. Their shared mission became a testament to the enduring power of kindness, a force capable of reshaping lives and inspiring hope across even the most daunting divides. With Evelyn's unwavering support, Lily stepped into a new chapter of her life, one filled with promise, stability, and the chance to pursue dreams that once seemed unreachable. The walls that had once confined her slowly gave way to opportunities, a warm home where she felt safe, access to education that sparked her curiosity, and healthcare that tended not only to her body but to the wounds in her heart. Each day was a step toward rebuilding, a reclamation of the life stolen by hardship and loss. Evelyn's mentorship was a guiding light through this transformation. She walked beside Lily as she navigated the unfamiliar terrain of schools and social settings, offering encouragement and gentle wisdom. With Evelyn's help, Lily found her voice, first quiet and tentative, then growing stronger and more confident. The world that had once seemed vast and unwelcoming began to feel like a place where she could belong, where her dreams mattered. Education became a sanctuary for Lily. The classroom was no longer a place of intimidation, but a space for discovery. She immersed herself in learning, captivated by stories, ideas, and the endless possibilities that knowledge unlocked. Teachers recognized her determination and nurtured her growth, while peers saw beyond her past to the bright, resilient spirit within. With every lesson, Lily built the foundation for a future filled with potential. Yet, the shadows of her past did not disappear overnight. There were moments when memories surfaced, painful reminders of the family she had lost, the nights spent in cold uncertainty, and the fear that had once gripped her heart. But now, these memories were met with strength and healing, supported by therapy and the understanding of those who cared. Lily learned that healing was not a straight path, but a journey marked by resilience, hope, and the courage to keep moving forward. As Lily's confidence grew, so did her commitment to giving back. She embraced the role of an advocate for homeless youth, determined to use her story to inspire change and raise awareness. Public speaking engagements, community events, and media interviews became platforms where she shared not only her struggles, but also her dreams for a better world. Her voice, once silenced by fear, now carried the power to spark empathy and action. The media spotlight, though challenging at times, amplified Lily's message. She faced scrutiny and skepticism with grace, grounded by the knowledge that her journey was real and her purpose meaningful. Every story told, every conversation sparked, was a step toward dismantling the stigma surrounding homelessness and poverty. Through her advocacy, Lily became a symbol of resilience, a living testament to the possibility of transformation. Evelyn's decision to formally adopt Lily was a profound milestone, solidifying the loving home that had become a haven. This act of commitment was more than legal. It was a declaration of belonging and family, a promise of support that would endure beyond the challenges they had faced. With this new foundation, Lily flourished, embraced by a community that celebrated her growth and potential. Within this nurturing environment, Lily explored creative pursuits that had long been dormant. Art, writing, and music became outlets for expression, channels through which she processed her experiences and imagined new futures. These creative endeavors were not just hobbies, but vital parts of her healing and self-discovery, allowing her to reclaim joy and voice her story in ways words alone could not. Friendships blossomed, built on mutual respect and understanding. Lily developed relationships that were steady and supportive, a contrast to the fleeting connections of her past. She found mentors and peers who encouraged her aspirations and celebrated her successes. These bonds fortified her sense of identity and belonging, weaving a network of love and encouragement that buoyed her through life's challenges. Throughout her journey, Lily remained deeply connected to those still facing the hardships she had overcome. She championed programs that provided shelter, education, and mental health support, ensuring that others had access to the resources that had transformed her life. Her advocacy was not only about raising awareness, but also about creating tangible change, building bridges between communities and fostering empathy in a world often divided by circumstance. Lily's story became a beacon of hope, inspiring many to believe in the potential for change. She spoke openly about the complexities of trauma and healing, offering a nuanced perspective that challenged simplistic narratives. Her honesty and courage invited others to confront their own biases and to consider the power of compassion in transforming lives. Through her example, she cultivated a movement that valued dignity, opportunity, and resilience. Despite the remarkable progress, Lily remained humble and grounded. She recognized that her journey was ongoing, that healing and growth were lifelong endeavors. With Evelyn's continued support and the strength she had cultivated within herself, she faced each new day with determination and grace. The future was no longer a distant dream, but a living reality, shaped by choices, love, and the enduring power of hope. Lily's transformation was a testament to the profound impact of kindness and opportunity. From the depths of homelessness and loss, she rose to embrace a life filled with promise and purpose. Her story illuminated the truth that every child deserves a chance to heal, to thrive, and to rewrite their narrative. Through resilience, compassion, and unwavering support, Lily forged a path that not only changed her own life, but also inspired a brighter future for countless others.